Check out carmarshal.com. The link is in the description. They help support us.
Not one but 4 cops cowered in fear as kids were murdered in FL shooting. The two departments who responded to the Parkland shooting are now blaming each other for their shortfalls as 4 cops were seen cowering in fear instead of saving lives. By John Vibes, February 24, 2018. Broward County Sheriff's Deputy Scott Peterson resigned this week after a video showed him cowering in fear while there was a shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Now it has been revealed that there were 3 other officers who were taking cover instead of trying to help. All of the officers who hid were apparently from the Broward County Sheriff's Office and were the first to arrive on the scene. They apparently waited for reinforcements before doing anything, but according to officers with Coral Springs Police Department, the Broward County officers remained outside and did not immediately follow them to apprehend the suspect. According to CNN, during a vigil after the tragedy, Coral Springs City Manager Mike Goodrum confronted Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel over the actions of his deputies, saying that it could have cost some of those children their lives. This issue has caused a bit of drama between the two police departments who are now both bitterly criticizing one another's response to the shooting. The two departments have since engaged in a childish finger-pointing ritual. Coral Springs Police Chief Tony Pustazzi wrote in an internal memo that I understand that another agency has given the impression that it had provided the majority of the rescue efforts, and that the tremendous work of the Coral Springs Police and Fire Departments has not been recognized. Please know that this issue will be addressed, and the truth will come out in time. Meanwhile, Sheriff Israel hit back saying that Coral Spring Police showed up late and entered the school after the shooter had already escaped. We know it was approximately 4 minutes after the shooter departed the school when the first Coral Springs police officers arrived. We're investigating every aspect of this, Israel told the Miami Herald. The poor response from many of the officers involved has sparked outrage across the country. Donald Trump even called Officer Peterson a coward, saying that he trained his whole life. When it came time to get in there and do something, he didn't have the courage or something happened, but he certainly did a poor job, there's no question about that. He was there for 5 minutes, for 5 minutes, that was during the entire shooting. He heard it right at the beginning, so he certainly did a poor job. That's a case where somebody was outside. They're trained. They didn't react properly under pressure or they were a coward. In light of this recent scandal, it is important to remember the precedent that was set in the 1981 Warren v. District of Columbia court case. In this case, it was revealed that the police actually have no duty to protect individuals, they just have some vague duty to uphold the law, which allows them to avoid any type of responsibility in situations like this. According to the decision, in a 4-3 decision, the District of Columbia Court of Appeals affirmed the trial court's dismissal of the complaints against the District of Columbia and individual members of the Metropolitan Police Department based on the public duty doctrine, ruling that the duty to provide public services is owed to the public at large, and, absent a special relationship between the police and an individual, no specific legal duty exists. The court thus adopted the trial court's determination that no special relationship existed between the police and appellants, and therefore no specific legal duty existed between the police and the appellants. While the propaganda of our society portrays agents of the state as heroes, they are nothing more than average men and women, going to work to collect a paycheck, while cutting as many corners as possible in the process, like most of the rest of the world is. Only in their job, cutting corners is a matter of life and death.
Who got there right now before the shooter departed or the shooter was there, but it's no secret that since Columbine, we're instructed, we teach, we train to immediately move in to a situation like that and push towards the shooter, eliminate the shooter, make sure that you could save lives by eliminating the shooter, and the less rounds he or she is able to get off, you know, the safer the people are there. So that's what we train to, come there. And even if you feel the shooter's gone, you still have to push and enter, because then there's people that are wounded or shot, that people maybe you could save their lives. And I know the Coral Springs Police Department and Broward Sheriff's deputies actually pulled people out and got them to ambulances into places where they were transported to the hospital, and that was able to save their lives. So the Broward Sheriff's deputies that were able to extricate people from this horrific scene, and the Coral Springs Police and Fire that were able to do this actually saved lives.
And I know, Sheriff, you opened this up by giving credit to all the responding agencies, but I don't know if you're aware, you had a chance to read the email that went out. The Coral Springs Police Department chief put out an email. It seemed a little, I don't know if angry is the right word, but a little upset about the fact that your agency was taking too much credit. I
didn't see that email, and shame on anybody who would talk about credit or anything at a time like this. This is about parents losing and families losing loved ones, and anybody who would worry about credit at a time like this. It's petty and very disappointing for me to hear. That's not what this is all about.
Sure. Question for you. Can you shed any more light into the motive of the killer, of the shooter?
Pure evil. Pure evil.
Can you tell us, do you know where Deputy Peterson was during the shooting?
Deputy Peterson was on campus. Deputy Peterson, is, as you all know, is a school resource deputy. He was armed, and as our command staff moves forward in this investigation, the response and actions of Deputy Peterson will be looked at and scrutinized, as will everyone's.
Do you know whether he discharged his gun?
He did not.
Sure. Just wondering if you had anything to say to these people who are pushing these conspiracy theories, calling some of these students actors. Some of the students have told us that as a result of that, they're getting death threats. Is that something that you're looking into in your office?
Well, anybody who's getting death threats, of course, we're going to look into it. We're going to take it seriously. We've responded to places like Boyd Anderson and Lauderdale Lakes Middle School, false alarm after false alarm, bomb threat. This is not the time and place to, not take everything seriously. So every threat we get is serious. But to anybody who would say that that these are actors and these weren't real students, I mean, it defies logic and comprehension. I wouldn't even know what to say, to be honest with you.
Sheriff, early on you said that somebody spotted Cruz when he walked onto the campus, and I don't know what happened after that. Did that person inform, yell at other people? Did that person go to boards?
No, what I said is I was told, and I have no corroboration yet as our investigators continue, but I was told that somebody got on the radio within Stoneman Douglas and said, I think we might have an intruder, and he was recognized. I was told that. It's never been substantiated. I have not heard that from our investigators who continue to put this together. And let me remind you, as we take the video and we look at the video has to be married with the dispatch tape so that it coincides. So it's an arduous task. We work round the clock on this, and I'm very proud of the Broward Sheriff's Office for for the investigators as they continue to persevere.
How do you feel schools should be better secured at this point?
Well, I think there's three ways. It's a three-pronged approach. I think schools as soft targets need to be fortified. We need to look at how many school resource deputies are being employed at each school. I think the cities and I need to look at that.
And should there should be more?
Well, certainly every school in the nation should have a school resource deputy. There should be no school that shouldn't have at least one. But there are things like CEPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design. I think we could build schools differently, or even schools that are already built, look at how environmentally we could build things that could protect an egress and an escape route. We also need to talk about sensible gun control. There are certain people in this country that should not be ever allowed to have a gun. We need to look at that. We need to look at how sheriff's deputies and police officers around the country when they get into, when they contact somebody who can be Baker Acted. A Baker Act, as you know, means that we could take someone into custody involuntarily, who is an immediate threat to themselves or to someone else. And that's important, but it needs to be expanded to keep these kids safe. We need to be able to take people into custody who may post things on social media. They might not be an immediate threat. They might not be an immediate threat to themselves or someone else, but if they are a threat, if their language is threatening, if they talk about, I want to grow up and be a killer, if they have graphic pictures of blood and gore, and we have, through a totality of evidence, feel that this person needs to be examined by a medical professional, we need to be able to take that person and involuntarily Baker Act them. And when that person leaves the facility, the mental health facility where they're examined, they shouldn't be given back their guns. That doesn't mean they're better. That just means they're now in the rehabilitative stages. When we have our ACL redone, we don't get out and play football or tennis. We go through a rigorous rehab. And that's what people who suffer from mental illness, my heart goes out to them. I want to see people heal, of course. But when people have just undergone a psychiatric evaluation and we're worried about their mental health, these people need to be away from guns until they are evaluated, maybe years down the road.
Sure. Aside from the changes that were trying to be made with lawmakers and the students are pushing forward guns, the three-pronged approach that you just talked about, are you meeting with county commissioners, city commissioners, mayors, school district to try to do some of those, seeking funds and try to accomplish some of those things now?
Well, absolutely. You know, I said for 3 years, if we had this conversation years ago, I would have said that the safety of our children is dependent upon law enforcement, and we still are necessary to protect our kids. But now we're in a point in American history where if we're going to be safe, it's up to the lawmakers. Laws have to be changed. We can't do the same old, same old. We can't throw around the line, let's have conversation. We have to do proactive things. And even if these things don't work out, so what? We did something differently. We tried something different. We tried something new to keep children safe.
So are you, aside from the lawmakers, and I do hear what you're saying, are you going to try to be seeking funds from maybe, or working with the school district? Or?
Well, it won't be the school district. I'll be working with our contract cities, and we'll be talking about schools. I don't know if you're aware of this, but this morning I implemented a practice within the Broward Sheriff's Office and spoke to Mr. Runcie, who was fully supportive of my decision that our deputies who are qualified and trained will be carrying rifles on school grounds from this point forward. The only place, if people are asking me when they're not carrying the rifle, until we look for gun locks and gun lockers, the only place when they're not slinging the rifle that it'll be allowed to be stored is locked in their police vehicle. So it will be done safely. Only deputies who have trained and qualified will carry those rifles. But we need to be able to defeat any threat that comes onto campus.
Will they be carrying AR-15s?
Whatever they're qualified in, I'm sure, most will be doing the AR-15s. And, a lot of people think AR-15 stands for automatic rifle. It doesn't stand for automatic rifle. It stands for Armalite. It's a company. An AR-15 is a single shot firearm, a single shot rifle. So our deputies who do have the ARs will have single shot rifles. One trigger pull, one shot. They're not fully automatic.
Are most deputies qualified on rifles?
I don't know.
Sheriff, could you go into some detail about conversation you had with the governor about the Baker Act? And you were talking about
Yeah, the governor came down. He's been down here quite a bit. He's come over the office, my office. I've spoke to him out in the field. The governor has been very receptive to what I've said. He's been open-minded. He gave me his word, and I think he's already lived up to it, that he's going back up to Tallahassee to talk to other lawmakers, and we'll see what happens. I'm not a lawmaker. I can only enforce the laws on the books, but things need to be changed in America, and I'm going to use my voice and my platform for the Broward County Sheriff's Office to try and get that accomplished.
And I think you touched on this already, but I mean, you said that your school resource deputy did not fire his gun, but in theory, had he engaged the shooter? I mean, does he even have the tools to defeat somebody who's coming into a school with that type of assault rifle?
You're darn right he does. He's got a firearm, he's got his training, he's got his tactics, and we're taught to move in and push forward. And that's what we'll be looking for. But you're darn right he was prepared to do something about it.
Is there a way you can connect the dots better between your SROs and, you know, I mean, like...
This is a fluid investigation, as I said. As more information comes,
I'm
I'll
talking
be
in the future. I mean, the school obviously knew about this kid, and, you know, they did everything they were supposed to. They, you know, was kicked out of the school. I mean, did Deputy Peterson, was Peterson aware of this kid? I mean, do you have a system in place where SROs can be kind of be on the lookout for specific students that have been expelled or have...
Well, I know he was aware of him. He was expelled from Douglas, so, but obviously once a kid's expelled, you know, if he's not arrested or he's not charged with anything and he doesn't have an ankle monitor on him, he's free to move about the country as he sees. So we're not going to know where everybody is at every time.
Going back to the first minutes.
Yes.
If I'm clear, were your deputies ever told or ordered to wait for SWAT before going in?
Not to my knowledge. And
Did they go in immediately as soon as they got the police officers?
That's why I said that's exactly what we're examining. But this is not a kind of an active shooter in the school. It's not something where anybody would say and be correct in saying it'll be within policies and say you wait for SWAT. You don't wait for SWAT. You get in and you push towards the shooter and eliminate the threat. One more question.
Sheriff, following up on sort of the question about the information the deputies had at the time that they arrived.
Yes.
So we've gotten reports that there may have been watching a delayed video feed. Can you sort of speak to whether you guys had real-time or delayed information?
I don't know anything about that, but I will, and that's the questions you asked that we don't have answers to. You know, Vita Coleman-Wright and our executive director of PIO and her staff, they're meticulous about this, and they'll always follow up on the questions and get you answers. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
One more question. Sheriff, firearm set off?
There are no words.
While the gunman was inside Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School killing people at random, a trained Broward County Sheriff's deputy did nothing.
Devastated, sick to my stomach. There are no words.
The Broward County Sheriff revealing the stunning news that one deputy, Scott Peterson, who was armed and in uniform, clearly knew there was an active shooter, but stayed in his position outside Building 12. The sheriff says video shows the deputy doing nothing for more than 4 minutes while the bullets flew inside. The shooting lasted about 6 minutes. Deputy Peterson has since resigned. When reporters asked what he should have done,
Went in, addressed the killer, killed the killer.
And new information tonight that Peterson wasn't the only sheriff's deputy who failed to act. Now, Coral Springs police sources tell CNN that 3 other Broward County sheriff's deputies also remained outside, pistols drawn but hiding behind their vehicles. It's unclear if the shooter was still there when they arrived, but not one of them had gone into the school. It was the Coral Springs officers who were the first to go in. Meanwhile, during the shooting, another key misstep. Turns out the surveillance video security teams were watching in hopes of locating the 19-year-old gunman in the school had been rewound. The 20-minute video delay led authorities to believe the gunman was still in the building, when in reality he was long gone.
The delay never put us in a situation where any kids' lives were in danger.
Long before the shooting, there were warning signs that went nowhere. Even the FBI missed a major red flag. CNN has reviewed a transcript from a January 5th call this year. A tipster close to the Parkland shooter warning the FBI that the teen was, quote, going to explode. The female tipster spoke of his social media posts about guns and his violence in school, saying she feared him getting into a school and just shooting the place up. The FBI has admitted that proper protocols weren't followed on a key tip about the suspect just weeks before the attack.
There was a mistake made. We know that. But it is our job to make sure that we do everything in our power to ensure that does not happen again.
Also, the Broward County Sheriff now revealing their office had received 18 calls related to the suspect over the past decade. In a 2016 call, officers got a tip that he planned to shoot up an unknown school. Police records show the responding deputy passed the information on to a school resource officer. In another call last November, police records show a caller warned the teen was collecting guns, suggesting he could be a school shooter in the making. Officers simply referred it to the Palm Beach Sheriff's Department for review. Also last year, a family in Palm Beach County alerted police that the suspect had put a gun up to someone's head. The suspect himself called 911 about the incident.
I kind of got mad and I started punching walls and stuff, and then a kid came at me and threw me on the ground.
Police responded and were told at the scene it had all been worked out.
County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Sheriff County COPWATCH with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me and I'm sick of it, so I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave let's say actually yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where at least I can do it. 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is if I got some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. 47,000 of you so far right now. $1 a day. $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.